Welcome to where the furniture isn't always the best, but them views, they are amazing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 13th floor where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I am moderator B. Jones, and I got the full cast on tonight. Faison, what's happening, man?
Chilling here in Delaware, in the hotel, just checking in. Good.
Okay. Delaware. How many times you been to Delaware?
How many?
I can count on my hand, probably like 10, maybe a little less. Yeah.
Wow. What's it like there?
Nothing.
You got a beach?
It's
where in Delaware?
I am in Christiana, which is where the biggest mall in Delaware is.
Which is the smallest mall in all the rest of America.
Right, exactly.
DJ, what's happening, my man?
I'm good, man.
Come on,
back in the hotel room in Orlando.
Easy, staying on the road.
Yes, sir.
Fresh, what's popping, man? Looking like Shazam in the background.
You know, I always got these magical things going on over here in the dungeon. Biggie versus Wu-Tang mix just dropped on SoundCloud. It'll be a couple days past when y'all get this, but it's out there. 2 verses. Y'all need to go check that. We still live. We still local. Maybe not. We here, though.
There it is. Coach K, man, I am. What are you?
What's happening? I'm here. What's going on? No, how come nobody sent me the memo? It was collared shirt night.
We put it in a memo. You were just
stop hanging out in the break room so much. You know, the water cooler. It didn't make it there.
That's hilarious.
Got time to throw one on.
As you all can see, I got my laptop is back.
Oh, that is right. Even the file survived.
Yeah. So who?
The file survived. The only thing that was wrong was that bracket that holds the hard drive, and that was it.
Well, shouts to Apple.
Look at that. You got another 5 years on that thing.
Listen, man, exactly. I was telling them, I was like, hey, look, man, ain't this thing supposed to last at least 10 years? It's only been 8.
Well,
but shout out to my guy Jason, because he's the one that was just like, you know what, man, it might be this bracket. And he has the same model I have, same year, everything. And he was like, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So let's do that. Turned out that's what it was.
Definitely
supposed to be like.
And this is an Apple employee or somebody you know?
No, an Apple employee.
Shout out to the integrity of the Apple employee, not trying to rake you across the coast for a clean $2,000 for a new computer.
Yep.
But what's the first thing that you did once it was back live?
Backed it up.
My man.
To the cloud, I hope.
No, not to the cloud. Just too much stuff going to the cloud, so I backed it up to Dropbox.
There you go.
That's the cloud.
My Dropbox, not your Dropbox, Art.
I know. There's only but so much space in that thing.
Warning message.
Right?
Look, see, Art went and changed his shirt, so you're not alone, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you.
That wasn't a college shirt. That was a work shirt. Just forgot. Oh, I forgot I had it on.
When I say collar, it was a
collar. I heard college.
Moving right along.
Welcome, I'm on my computer in the hotel. I don't have my big computer with me. It's just weird. A lot's going on right now.
It's a lot going on, man. All of our minds are, moving probably at a million miles a minute. I joined the crew. I was the last one. We finally got through the Who Killed Malcolm X series on Netflix, and we want to discuss that a little bit. First and foremost, I got to shout out Fusion Entertainment and Mr. Abdul Rahman Muhammad, because that was an excellent documentary series.
If you're still alive, brother, shout out to you.
Yes.
Big facts.
Definitely took me out of the ignorance is bliss state of life, because before this documentary, I only had at this point, I wouldn't even call it rudimentary understanding of Malcolm X and his involvements with the Nation of Islam. And, it just left me like, wow, on so many different levels, because it was not just one hand that had, working as the puppeteer. in this whole situation, and it's really disheartening, as a matter of fact, because I read into the nation some years ago, and got into the teachings of Elijah Muhammad on a very surface level. I started reading Message to the Black Man, and it just sounded like truth to power, man. It really spoke to me and hit me in the heart, hit me home, and I could see, even having rehabilitated so many, Black men through the prison system and brought them out and supposedly had changed their lives and everything. Uh, you would think more of an organization, especially one that has shown to have thrived and flourished so much as it was depicted in the documentary, because I had no idea of the net worth that the nation had come to acquire until they pointed that out as one of the, I guess, I don't know, maybe motivations within it all. But it's really disheartening because you got an organization that I don't know if it ever became I guess it was kind of a staple in the Black community at some point. And then Elijah Muhammad at the helm, and to see someone fall or be depicted as that, with that jealous, envious type character trait, who sat so high on the throne within the organization. It was just disheartening watching how all of that kind of played out. So I leave it up to you guys and open the floor up on that.
Well, first I want to thank Art, because I probably passed over watching it on the assumption I already knew, kind of what had happened with Malcolm X, and just look, man, I saw the Denzel Washington movie. I read the book. I pretty much feel like I kind of knew what was going on, and didn't have any idea of the complexities and all the different things surrounding it and what was going on. And while I kind of knew, it was very it was shocking watching it. I literally powered through it in a weekend just because I was so intrigued with watching how things were unfolding and stories were coming on, and then the access to the different documents and the exposure of what was going on. It was just very impactful.
I will say this. Don't be so quick to be disheartened, because what got me was that, okay, one, you just average Joe, and you're getting access to all these documents and know people that have access to things, right, as average Joe, which, okay, in all this time, there hasn't been anybody else with that type of access and power. Two,
I don't think that it's
well, hold on.
Let's get going, because I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it yet.
And then to get all the way down to the end, and the person is dead.
Well, you gotta have some kind of climax. I mean,
yeah, but that makes it it's very timely at the point that he started doing his research. You get through all this, the person's dead. There's nobody to refute. There's nobody to say, well, this ain't exactly what happened. And it's just weird. Like you talked about watching the movie Malcolm X, and everything that happened in there was in the movie Malcolm X. Like as far as like at the Audubon, like the whole get your hand out my pocket,
yep.
Smoke bomb thrown. The dude that comes out and says, oh yeah, he shot Malcolm. Like all of that was in the movie Malcolm X. Right. So these facts of what happened and what occurred, to some degree, were known for them to be reproduced in the movie. Right. So it's just really weird. And then I don't know if any of you watched the Savior's Day address.
No. Tried. I caught pieces of it.
Okay. So the Savior's Day address happened in two parts, right? So one happened on Savior's Day, one happened the next Saturday after, or the next Sunday after. And it was just interesting because he referenced the documentary.
You mean
Minister Farrakhan did.
Farrakhan.
Right? He references the documentary, and I just found it very interesting that he's in the documentary. Like you see him in the background, but he never gets mentioned
at all.
And that's one of the things that kind of intrigued me, because when Art brought it to our attention, that was one of the things that I was most intrigued or kind of worried or unsettled about, because I remember when they did the Million Man March here, what was that, 2015? That was a large topic of his conversation while he was up there speaking, and I can't remember what all he spoke about. But I was looking forward to seeing what may have come as far as Farrakhan being on the stage and being that close to Elijah Muhammad. It never happened.
Yeah, and go ahead, BJ.
So there's many different angles you can take from watching the series. Having a rudimentary background with the movie, or if you read the autobiography of Malcolm X, or see and watch all these, or have a combination of all of them together. And part of it, but I think kind of hits home to what was also covered in the documentary, plus what was not mentioning Farrakhan or anything about that over those last years of his rise to power and rise to position, would be the overall relationship or sight of a figure as the head or as the focal point, right? And to honor his current status, because he's still Muslim, right? Abdul, I forget his whole name right now. Sorry. We got to make it a documentary.
Yes, yes.
You will remind Muhammad.
Thank you. Yes. So when he's making it out of respect for still practicing Islam, right? Whether that's under the Nation of Islam or just Islam as a whole, like, because you find this true distinction when you really see the movie and understand the two factions of really the Black Muslims versus Islam as a religion. More out of the respect for the person than it is a true spotlight on every single thing that could possibly go there. You saw that definitely in the documentary, and I think that kind of carried over. My personal opinion, they kind of carried over in the out of respect for my still practicing Islam, and basically living the rest of my life under this religion. Because you see him bringing his son into the fold as well. The son has a foundation as well. You can't really tear it all apart and still say, I'm a believer, or my faith still lies on this path. My opinion.
I think when it comes to that point, BJ, and that was one of my other, I guess, larger feelings of this, is how it almost Abdur and the way that he went about the documentary, Islam is his faith. It doesn't sound like as it were back when the Nation of Islam was huge and rising to power, where Elijah Muhammad was, their faith, or he was the deity. And so I think with the separation or distinction of the two, especially when you get into the seeds of deceit that were sowed throughout the inner, the factions of the organization, you kind of, you can't fault a whole religion that has practices that are, I think, straight up and down and pretty much straightforward and truthful, for the actions of a group or a faction that kind of took this, ran with it, made it into what they wanted it, and some could say, looking at some of those facts, turned it into a racket.
Correct. But that happens with any major religion you think about. When you think about the things that the person did, that was not a true representation of what the religion says it stands for, or the teachings that are there. That the separation of the person and the acts of humans versus the intent of the lifestyle, right? It's two totally separate pieces that I think we as humans, we intertwine a lot, because again, we see a human who represents that faith or that that religion as a true representation of what all are, right? It happens in Muslim faith, in Islam as a whole. It happens in Christianity. It happens in Buddhism. Like, no matter what you think, there's always been a person who has been a black sheep, if you will, of that faith, and then a lot of people make a final decision about that faith based on the actions of the person, not about the foundation, the fundamentals, the true beliefs, because that is their image. That's what they see on a regular basis. We do it across races, where you see somebody of a different race and you believe that's how all that race acts, right? People's prejudices that way. I mean, it just transcends itself to religion in this case.
Go ahead, Art.
No, I want to discuss the business aspect of the documentary, and then also about how many people were implanted in mold in the organization. So I'll wait to get to that point later on. You guys have covered what needs to be said for this, so we'll wait till that comes up.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I don't think in this case it was a matter of we looked at this, or people looked at this as, okay, it's because of the particular religion that this happened. Like, I think it's very clear that COINTELPRO, which COINTELPRO is the same thing that took out Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Black Panthers. So any organization that organizes, especially when it comes to Black people, things happen, right? And there's always, if you look at it historically, there's always some type of scandal, or when somebody comes out and it's like they're going to do something that's going to potentially shift the mindset, aka Bill Cosby, something is put out there, right? And when you look at the fact that, man, these jokers are sending letters back and forth that are allegedly, this is allegedly from Malcolm, this is allegedly from Elijah Muhammad. The same thing was happening to Martin Luther King. They were sending letters to his house for Coretta to get to read, that were allegedly from another female or whatever. You know, same dissension got planted in the Black Panthers, where they thought, oh, this person's trying to take over, this person's trying to be in power. So the play itself that didn't surprise me. I mean, I've always known that there was something awry, but I think the part that we got to get to is, how do we safeguard our organizations and our people to where we don't get to that point, right? And it's never somebody that doesn't look like us that infiltrates. They go get somebody that looks like us to come infiltrate.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think that's a very, very difficult question to answer, because you can't really control the motivations of man. All you can kind of do is walk in your light and your purpose.
Give us some more volume there, Chief.
Well, I was saying, you can't really control the motivations of man. You can only walk in your light and your purpose. You got 9 FBI informants that was in that room, only one of which is actually known that was in
That's just in the room. So imagine how many were actually in the nation.
Exactly. And that, I think that's the big factor too, is that you don't see any of these other things happening in other organizations that are non-Black. So why is it that we internally destroyed each other at that point in time? What was the reason or point of motivation to do that? I mean, was it money at the time? I mean, probably was money, but like, that's, as soon as there's something good that happens, someone infiltrates it from the inside. And that's, I can't fathom that process and why you would do that. I just don't understand. That's what I want to bring it to you guys.
You watch enough movies, you see it. It's always, you know, it's just like you said, it's money, or it's somebody who is, you know, in there who had some type of problem, whether it be drugs or, you know, beat somebody up or whatever the hell happened. And it's like, look, we're either going to lock you up or you're going to help us get this. And that's how it starts. That's how it trickles in. And that's how, you know, hey, we need you to vouch for this guy now. Or, hey, you know, we need you to wear this wire. And it just trickles from there.
Let me just bring a movie to you all's head that you probably don't remember. This is exactly what went down. Belly. Exactly. They took DMX and said, hey, we on to you. We know what's happening. If you go infiltrate this organization, which happened to be the nation, and kill this person, you know, we'll wipe your slate clean.
And that happens all the time. And
It happens all the time, right?
And then it's that same power struggle of exactly what happened in Belly, where it's like, dang, it's more powerful for me not to like it. It's a lot. It's a lot. But,
or you tell these people that may be aspiring to be FBI agents, and they've been having all the obstacles in the world in front of them, and they say, okay, we'll let you in, but you got to do this.
This is your entree. You have to go. You have to infiltrate this. This will get you that badge and everything else that you want. And 9 times out of 10, it'd be like, yo, but you're off the radar. You only
that was a man who his head of security. That's exactly what I mean. He said, I had to pay bills. I had a wife and kid at home, and I wanted to be an agent.
Period.
They said that man on January 1st, they made him official. They never swore him in, never gave him a badge, never gave him a gun.
Nothing.
But yet, this is some, obviously it was a moral badge, I guess, for lack of a better word right now. I made it to this position. I can provide for my family, even though I have to do this. But then if you ain't watched the movie, you gotta watch it, man.
But like, how I can't understand how you can foresee, regardless of wherever you are at that point. I mean, if you were doing something non-criminal, you just were asked to join or do something internally. How do you see the foresight that, hey, if I destroy this, even though they're making all these moves and we're progressing, I can go inside and help tear it down from the inside and bring us back, take us backwards. That part, I can't fathom or understand.
Well, we can't
What
even.
You mean as the individual who's doing it?
Well, all individuals. So, like, there are people inside. I mean, at some point, did not one of them think to themselves, "Hey, I gotta tell somebody inside, like, hey, listen, I got paid this information," like Malcolm did. Malcolm taped it and recorded it.
Some don't. I mean, you got to realize it's no different than the dude in the art. You know what is it's no different than Will Smith's son in Bad Boys, the last one that just happened, right? You think about it, he was on a mission to kill his own father because that is exactly what he knew without knowing he was his father. And then once he finds out, it's a total different story, right? And now we're about to have a whole other series of, missions now based on that.
Take it. Like, okay, that's a fictional movie. Look at all the people that are in the military that end up going over to war to go fight a war and I don't really know what happened here. They just told me I need to go come kill these people, and that's my job.
Right. It's basic, like, need fulfillment. And when you talk about getting into the mind state of some of the people who have done it in the past, like just the individuals they show in the documentary, you got the FBI agent who was Malcolm's head of security the night he was assassinated. He looking for a job, you know what I'm saying, to get promoted or whatever. He's just doing what they tell him to do.
And play devil's advocate with him real quick. So on the same topic, whether we don't know we heard him speak, right? But we never got to the true intent behind his reasoning, whatever. Just play devil's advocate for a minute. Just think if you wanted to become a member of the New York Police, the FBI, at that point in time is the New York Police Department.
It's FBI.
I think he was FBI.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. FBI, right? And you actually walking and talking with this man that at the end of the day, you may not even have known that the ultimate goal. Yes, they were tapping them and tracking information, but you didn't know that you weren't led in the ultimate plan to bring this man down or whatever, or bring him down totally, like, in his life. Maybe it's just to get information, and you really believe that what he was talking was a good thing, and I can fulfill this of becoming an FBI agent, plus be next to him, and really prove the point that he's not really doing it. If you really believe this man is not doing anything, then you're kind of self-serving while you're fulfilling the need as well. So
right, because remember the part where they said people in the FBI were asking him, "Why did you try to save that criminal or whatever word they use?"
Right. And Paul there, because it was just interesting. So when I saw that stuck in my head. And then I just recently saw a video on YouTube about why a police officer saved this man out of a car. He said, "It was my duty to save lives. No matter what happened above and beyond, criminal or not, it's my duty to save a life first and then prosecute later." And it's just funny that it was like, no, let him die, and then we'll go for it later on, which is the opposite.
Bro, that's still going on. That's
I
going
know.
on with
I know.
regular, everyday, just black people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Period. Exclamation point! Exclamation point!
But getting back into the
Go
excuse
ahead.
me. But getting back into the mind state, you also have to understand the individuals who are basically broken individuals who don't have a sense of self-identity. They are given their identity through, if that FBI agent, you know, if he wasn't just, you know, in there playing both sides, his identity or his validation was tied to, hey, if I do this job for these people in the FBI, I can continue to ascend, irregardless of whether or not the message that I'm hearing from Malcolm, is he really a threat? Or is he just trying to help people or his people in general move forward?
Yeah, that's the other thing when you talk about military and law enforcement and all of that. Like you're part of a mission. You're not necessarily told what the end goal of or anything else. Like you're told your piece. This is what you do, and you don't question that. Like it's just like, look, you're to sit there, be there, tell us everything. Whenever we ask you a question, what's going on or where he's at, you answer, period. That's all it is. Think no more, talk no less. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And look at how much how I guess almost easy it was for some of these individuals who were in and around the nation at that time when they were getting interviewed to maintain a straight face, to maintain their, you know, this is it, you know, this is my story. We don't even need to rehash this. It happened, you know, in our religion. If a man atones or whatever it is, because I can't say it in exact, but if they atone for it, they go to Mecca, they are reborn. We leave it where it lies, you know, and that's just how it goes. The people that were in Newark, New Jersey, from that lodge, knowing the inner workings, you know, they were just able to just, I guess, the solidarity and compartmentalize and
So
keep it there.
that's the one
Mosque,
I wanted
you
to
about
bring
have
that
a
up.
whole mosque. You about to have a whole nother set of people coming after us. When you said lodge,
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
That and you just hit on the point I want to make sure we touch before we ended the night, because the theme that stuck to me throughout the whole thing, yeah, we have the background story, whatever, but this idea in the Black community that, yeah, we know, but we're not gonna say nothing. The whole is some either repercussions of being the one who speaks up, or but I'm not questioning the religious piece as far as if he atoned for this, whatever. Not that part in general. Before you think about that whole piece in the Black community in general, but you think about the city of Newark and how many people have heard the stories and understood that this man was living among them. Yeah, and I mean, they called him out by name. You mean what you call it, sister? The one who was supposedly shot Malcolm? Like, but
Why is that okay?
two innocent men sitting
Right.
in jail that, you know, and it was accepted that there was a trial. It must have been some evidence that convicted him. So no matter what we know, what we hear on the streets, like, don't speak about it. Like, that's the part that's really set uneasy with me throughout that whole film and everybody he talked to.
That big ball of complexity of the force of religion to allow men who were not part of it to have to take the blame, and then the guy who they know is just like, oh well, now he went ahead and did what he had to do, where it's like it's you can see and understand in the complexity of religion how much that toils on the individuals who truly deal with that, like really dealt with that over those, you know, in that time period of really like knowing and like I don't understand.
I think that was the complexity of religion. That was the complexity of fear.
Yeah.
These guys was straight sitting there like, oh, we know that they used to invite people out to the park. If they ain't have their
papers,
newspaper money, and they would run up on them and beat them down. And I ain't saying no names, but we all know somebody that has been with us that roll up on people that owe them money and just jump out your car and shake them down. And that person, you know, they learned them tactics somewhere.
Facts. Facts.
No comment.
Yeah, it's almost like a double-edged sword, man. Because I'm looking at,
But it's the mentality. But it's a mentality. BJ's opinion. It's a
And
mentality
that
in the
just
black
shows the
community.
power they had in that community.
Very true.
But
'Cause
that's
I mean,
out of the nation. The nation. That's a common thread in our communities. Like we know, but just leave it alone. Don't say nothing. Don't get involved.
it's like Carol said, it's the fear, because if it's not religion, then it's a gang, or like, you know what I mean, entity of terror that is that force that is like, oh, we know that they run things, and we're not about to shake
Right.
that water, because I don't want any issues of the I don't want any of the bigger issues.
And they had code.
Just
They knew when you said these words, that's what it meant.
Period.
That's the part that had me like my mind going the whole time, and then even that for hours afterwards, like these people, nobody said something.
So that was your anger push button. My anger push button was just knowing that there are people there tearing down the whole movement piece at a time, sharing all the knowledge of everything going forward and all the moves and where you're going to be and what's going to happen. And granted, there was tapping and wiretapping too, but I still, at some point, both those houses, someone had to be there all the time. Like those weren't big houses. So at some point, you're like, yeah, go ahead. Everyone's going now. Come inside. I don't understand how. And that episode would be more and more upset that how you just people kept infiltrating the system from inside and tearing it down. There's so much money that was lost.
You
So
got
much money was lost.
to realize too, though, Art, it's not like they didn't know that they were infiltrated, right? They didn't know necessarily the complexities, right? But they still knew that they had FBI people in there that had infiltrated them. They didn't know who, but it's just like the mob, right? Like the mob understands and knows that stuff and does their best to try to be able to, combat it. But it's still, they still know what's happening. And so, again, back when you talk about these guys who are in there are no different than the members of Islam, in the sense of they were soldiers in their own right of what they were thinking of doing. That it wasn't, you are taking it from such a heartfelt and even in your own personal like ability, like, man, I couldn't get close to something like that, not be touched by it, and want to move. But you're not a military dude. You're not a savage. You're not programmed in the sense of like, yo, I got into law enforcement or whatever with the force of like, yo, I want to get higher in law enforcement. Whatever they tell me to do, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, that's my point. Like, I don't have any focus on anything else. I don't care. My mission is what? You need me to do what? Okay, let's do it. I'll tell you guys every day. It doesn't matter to me. I'll tell you every day. And at the same time, all of that's up to interpretation, in the sense of he's just giving information back that he don't know how Hoover and everybody else are interpreting it and deciding to make it feel, and then what they're doing with that information on the back end to be able to, send letters to whoever or anything else.
I want to touch this piece just real quick. And I don't know, Brett probably wants to move on from this topic, but, and this is going to kind of rope into what you were talking about, Art. So the other part that gets you is that this organization had millions of dollars at some point, right? And
incoming money consistently from businesses across the country.
Correct, because they had businesses. Here's the other thing that people don't, it's not really out there. If you ever get a final call and look at the back, they own land.
Oh, yeah.
And on that land, they plant food and all types of stuff. So if you look at it, you're almost looking at a situation where you have a group of people that they're getting so powerful and they're owning things that you got to put a stop to that, right? And in the Savior's Day Part 2 address, Mitch Farrakhan said that they were coming after him for his taxes because they said he hasn't been reporting any income. And he said, man, I don't make any money. Right? I don't make no money. Yeah. So there's nothing for me to file. Right? Which basically means all the money is going to the nation.
Yep.
Probably as a nonprofit organization.
Well, that's one of the big things with religion and like you know, that's one of the reasons I've heard that Kanye
Church is the richest, I think the richest organization in the world, or at least at some point it was.
Well, I was gonna say that's one of the reasons why Kanye made the I Am King album, because like the tax laws against you know, religious entities and religious music are totally different.
Yep. So I mean, you look at that, and then you look at, I know Art, you were about to hit the internal. Oh man, if this dude kind of breaks out and people follow him, that's gonna hurt our money. You know, how much of an impact does that have on the decision and what happens, and do we lose sight of the bigger picture of what the organization's trying to achieve because of this money? I mean, look at it. They own this man's house.
Right?
Right? They own this man's house, and we're just like, oh, you got to get out. We own that.
Right. Exactly. And it's just, I mean, again, all that with the decline of the nation, all those businesses that were funding people's lives and doing other things. And granted, you know, all of them were members and were believers, but it was just so much. Like, if you look, like, I can literally go to Newark now and just see everything that was there and still there, and is destroyed and beat up and left behind. And then you look now, and all those things are starting to turn around now and be bought up for nothing, pennies on a dollar. But all that was a plan of, well, let's just destroy this because they're taking too much. Like, Newark is pretty much the heart of North Jersey. If you control that, you control pretty much, you can take over New York City, because there was so much flow through Newark, New Jersey, that controls New Jersey. But once you got in that and you destroyed that process, there's no other pockets in Jersey where you can take. Everything else is all suburbs. But all the transit, all the money, all the trains, all the buses come through Newark, New Jersey. That is the number 2 money spot in Northeast, behind, well, 3, probably Boston, and then New York, Boston, and then Newark, New Jersey. So it's just crazy to see all that now and see those things.
And then one last thing about the timing of this documentary. So Brett and I were there when Mr. Farrakhan said that he was trying to get 10,000 men, and he was trying to organize. And we always were just like, what's he trying to do with 10,000 men? Like, where do you sign up? Like, what do you do? And then shortly thereafter is when everything starts happening with the social media. Oh, nope, let's suppress this dude. Let's get him off of social media. Let's kick him off of Facebook, right? So my question is, were they starting to organize and get numbers again, and then you put this out, right? So you suppress his access, then you put this out, and that kind of like kills the organization, because people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to mess with that, man, because I don't know if y'all did or didn't kill Malcolm. You know, I don't want to be around that. So it's just something to think about. Like, when I say the timing, and then we get to this, and then this guy's dead, it's like, man, that's kind of.
And we never hear how he died. He just did.
That was the other thing. Yeah, it's like they were showing shots from like a hospital or something, like he was terminally ill or something, but he just shows up, passed away.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even think about it from that view. Kay, I thought of it as a governmental, like, we really can't trust like the inner workings of it. But I didn't see it as a deterring from the Nation of Islam or that movement. I saw it as this: you can be infiltrated, you can be destroyed from your own government to stop growth. But
yeah,
you're right.
yeah. I never got sense of like not wanting to, you know, if that was my focus, I didn't get like a dag. I wouldn't mess with the nation. It was more, and to me, my mind was more even on. I watch so much organized crime stuff too, that it's just wild seeing how much all of that religion, organized crime, gangs, all of like their core like functionalities and how they move and motivate, like how much all of that ties together is just wild watching it play out, and then seeing how all them different layers were peeled apart, and just how many people were in bed with each other. It's just yeah. I didn't get no Nation of Islam. I was just more like, wow, all of these things have a lot of similar moving parts.
I think for all of those reasons you just said is what gives, Curl's kind of point a little bit more momentum, because I do kind of fall within that spectrum, because on one hand you have this organization who, like I said, they speak truth to power. It's a lot of compelling words that make a lot of sense. And if it's an action plan, basically that is laid out. You have Farrakhan, who has been very instrumental, and I think it kind of shot up exponentially over the last couple of years within the Black community, and how he was trying to organize the Black community and get younger people more involved, especially through his tapping of different rappers and getting into the community that way.
And working with Christian churches, working with Jewish rabbis. So
and he
that,
was
it's like
organizing across the gamut. So, and I don't know if y'all caught it, but clear at the end of that documentary, that's what Malcolm became. He wasn't moving just for the betterment of Black people so much more than it was people in general. He comes back from Mecca, his whole perspective on life changes. So when you look at that and what Farrakhan and them are trying to organize, where we are as a people, we talked about it last week, the state of the Black male. And then here I am, younger, male, looking at different ways to be much more active and pushing the needle forward. And you cast this shadow over a more militant group, or at least a group that is more about the protection of what is theirs, who have a plan that could be very instrumental within our community. It's like, for me, outside of everything we've already talked about, one of the larger things that I took away from it was that self-identity piece, because I feel like that's what Malcolm represented more so than anything, because once he came into his own mind and was able to speak untold and freely, he came into much more of his own, versus all of the pieces and people within the nation that had that, one band, one sound, one voice policy. And, there were only a few, I forgot his name again. Abdul Rahman. Yeah, he's one of the few that could, step away and actually pursue the interest of who actually killed Malcolm, where you have people from the mosque and in inner city New Jersey and other places that have all of this information, but are sitting on it. And we already know what the government's going to do. They got enough in the FBI secret files to indict all 4 or 5 of these other men. Yet,
yeah, we didn't see
20, 30, 50 years later.
Yep.
For nothing. So
people I believe. So even the Freedom of Information Act, which was referenced many, many times, like if you really believe that everything was automatically released and just redacted, then
no.
Well, there are people out there that believe it's freedom of information. Like everything you request, you can get, and everything you released is everything. Like there's people living in a fantasy world still. I'm not saying any of us, but there are people out there that believe that everything out there is made available to anybody if you request it. Stop living in a lie.
I mean, but
there's some things that will never be released.
Even in that sense, to see how much that he was able to receive, and even the stuff that was,
it was over 30 years now.
Yeah, that was
how much he was allowed to get a hold of and make public.
But
today's FBI is a little bit different than
it is. Yeah,
Hoover's FBI.
Even that is still just like, y'all would really let him have this stuff, like just to see what they've given him, let you know, like. It has to be insane. Yo, aliens is real.
Yeah.
Well, play on what Kate just said, though. Again, if the idea is that, sorry, something's happening funky on my computer. If the idea is that, if there is, we're play the conspiracy, right? The idea that the momentum is growing on this end, we have to do something to help combat. We know that they know this guy has been tracking. They know it's been his lifelong mission before he even. So all the funding that came through to make this possible, to make it a thing. I mean, even when you look at the credits, was it not Bette Midler? It was another singer.
It was.
It was Bette Midler. You caught that?
Was it Bette Midler?
It was somebody like that name that like caught my attention about somebody who was one of the contributors financially or something to this. Like, let me go back and watch the credits again. before I quote for sure, but it was a name like somebody like a Bette Midler who was
Right.
part of the funding and there's other things, pieces working behind the scenes that if you go down the theory that, okay, let's release this to suppress some of this other stuff, like all that plays together. Yeah, he was allowed, yes, today's FBI is much different. I totally agree. But there's still, if we were to believe that all that was everything given to him and he would find out piece by piece, like,
Listen, man,
it was
I got another question. Because what is the benefits and the vacation and time away policy from his job? Like, I really want to know because
Oh yeah.
I might want to apply. If somebody can let me know, because he's at a museum in DC,
He
right?
worked in Arlington.
Nah, so he worked the tour buses and stuff. So he probably
Yeah.
had access to a lot of information through the Smithsonian or whatever. So he had research time. New Jersey is what? How far from New York? Probably a couple
It ain't
hours.
far.
Yeah.
Hour and some change. So in your
So-
spare time.
So one last thing. So we got to keep watching because it's interesting, because in the Savior's Day Part 2 address, when Minister Farrakhan was talking, he said that he knew that this was his last Savior's Day. And he alluded to the probability of him being killed soon,
Yeah, I didn't get that
which
part.
was super interesting. I was just like, okay, that's weird, but all right.
Maybe not, because they feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how. With everything swirling around them, I mean, you should be able to, but I don't put it past them. It's just unfortunate that, again, we have coming to a head that situation.
Who is next in line?
Good question.
I don't know the hierarchy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Good
DJ, go ahead and look that up while we get our fresh ovation in this for the week.
There's a guy that talks before him every time. I don't know if it's going to be him. He shouted out his grandson that actually played college ball for somebody. I don't know if I don't know. We'll see.
What happened to
That year has been there for years. So
what happened to Elijah Muhammad's kids?
A lot of them are like, they're older. Some of them have like illnesses and whatnot. So I don't know.
Okay. I mean, they use the greed and a jealousy question. I mean, play on them.
Yeah, they did.
On the documentary. So I'm just wondering, like, what happened to them. But okay, I mean, you can look it up. I just didn't know if you guys knew off the top of your head.
So one of them was actually down in South Florida, Minister Rasul. That's the dude that we brought out to UM.
I was about to bring that up. Do you remember the commotion when it was your president year, right?
Yep.
When we were talking about bringing Farrakhan to campus, and I think word started spreading on campus. They shut that down quick.
Like, y'all are not gonna have that happen. Don't get excited about that. No, sir.
There it is. Sir Fresh, we coming your way, bro. Fresh ovation for the week. What you got?
Let's see. I tried to go ahead and bring something that I could somehow make relevant to what we're talking about today. So let's see if I can make it happen. In the darkest times, my light will be seen as a guide to others. As my light beams brightest for those in need, I'm focused on finding ways to allow my light to shine. I think, you think about Brother Malcolm. One of his main focuses was, being able to show all people how us living together was better than us living separate, and really being able to show his talents and his passions, even in the moments of fear or feeling like he knew it was going to, he was coming down to his last moments. And it's something I think we all should do, be able to not live by fear, but to live by allowing others to see and progress off of what you have learned, what you have experienced, and most importantly, your innate talents and abilities. I mean, we're all out here like X-Men. Be an X-Men, be Wolverine or Storm or whoever else. You should be it. Let everybody else see it, achieve it. It's Fresh Ovation this week. Y'all ain't even know I was gonna soup it up like that. And go check that Wu versus Biggie versus Wu-Tang, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, berryfresh.com, berrybfresh.com. We out here. Fresh out. It's Fresh Ovation.
There it is. All right. You got something to top this week, man. Put that pressure on you.
Yeah, but
Ah!
I'll use that frustration and add on to that for this corner. So I had it for last week, but we went on a different path. So there's a portrait in the house of a priest being painted by a painter. The priest has his head slumped down, clothes kind of really baggy, looking like he's on his deathbed, ready to go. But the painter makes it look like he is in his youth, standing strong, head high. Don't worry about sometimes how you feel internally. You have to make sure when you're portrayed and you're out in the front that you put your best foot forward and you look your best and you project your best until your last day. Never make yourself feel less than what you are. Always aim for more and go to the next level.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, remember you can get this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Vimeo, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, all those, wherever your podcasts are played. Follow us on social media at 13th Floor. Please, each and every week we dropping this podcast, so stay connected with us. Coach K, what you got for the people?
Wrap it up.
Got for the people is, and I'm a dude that spent a lot of time around people that were in the nation, been to the mosque down on 7th Street, down in Miami. And I remember hearing the definition of fear, false education accepted as real. And right now, I just want to tell everybody it's a fearful time, not just with conspiracies and things going on. Coronavirus, we didn't even get to touch on that today. I'm sure we'll have enough that we can still touch on it next week. But I tell you what,
can go to work next week, right?
right. For some of you out there, look, you're panicking. You're getting yourself into a frenzy, a sense of anxiety, and it's keeping you from moving forward and focusing on the goal. If something is going to happen to you, and this is the end, how do you want to go out? What do you have that you could put out there that you could at least say, you know what, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to get these things done. And I think if everybody approaches it that way, what are the things that I've always wanted to get done before I die? How much things can get done? And if it turns out that this coronavirus isn't what it says, man, how far could you go in that time that you just said, you know what, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to make excuses because I don't know how much time I have. So I would challenge you all to take that mindset. Be safe, but go out there and push towards your goals, your dreams. If there's somebody that you need to reach out to and talk to that you haven't talked to in a while, reach out to them, talk to them, find out what's going on. And look, if these are the end of days, let's make them the best of days.
Amen.
Show
There
you.
it is. Thank you all for listening with us here on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the
But then
views
you, baby.
are amazing. That's what we
Yeah.
Welcome to where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views, they are amazing.
It's the 13th floor, y'all.